Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for the invitation, and it's great to see you all. So the story of social at American Airlines very much mirrors many other brands and organizations in the early days. You know, we were using social media to listen, but obviously we were finding our feet and finding our way in social by sort of sharing news, product announcements, and so on. And then a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago, we really started to see a shift in consumer behavior. And that sort of shift was, we started to see a huge range of sort of customer issues being sort of sent through us on social networks. And because we were sort of in the infancy of social, we didn't have the people, we didn't have the technology, the processes, the organization behind the scenes to be able to handle them. And you know, so customer service issues were probably handled by what was best called triage. You know, it was a case of, is this potentially going to become viral? You know, that kind of scary question that we all face. And we were relying on really friends within the organization to sort of help answer those questions and service issues in their sort of spare time. And we knew this wasn't sustainable. And as volume continued to increase, about 3.5, 4 years ago, we had really a turning point in our approach. And we kind of took a step back and kind of had that sort of light bulb moment when you kind of realized that not all social media is the same. And different social networks had different customer behavior in terms of travel. And so for us, that was the kind of realization that for Twitter was much more about pre-trip and day of travel issues. And that had significant implications for us in the resource that we allocated to it and how we approached Twitter. And then for other social networks like Facebook and you know, LinkedIn and Google Plus and so on, it was much more about post-trip issues and sharing your experiences. So that helped us prioritize, again, where we actually, which groups we went to for support and how to get stuck into social in a much more involved way. So from the sort of days, the humble days of having tens to hundreds of sort of social mentions a day with sort of beg, stealing, and borrowing resource, the social media team at American Airlines is now 21 people. We're managing around about 6,000 tweets every week for two airlines, American and US Airways. And that's about 240 tweets an hour, let alone a day. And the customer service team itself is a dedicated team. It's 24/7, 16 people. And so, you know, we look back really about the key reasons behind the success. And there's kind of three major reasons. You know, the first is collaboration. And, you know, it's working across the business to help our organizations and business units understand that social media is different. And we have to approach it with a very different mindset and looking at it horizontally rather than vertically, kind of breaking down the silos, because the customer doesn't care. The customer just comes to you at American Airlines and expects you to be able to handle it. So we wanted to be able to deliver that by reorganizing behind the scenes rather than having different channels for different products and services. The second kind of insight really about how we've reinvented sort of customer service is about hiring right. And you know, 3.5 years ago, there was no such thing as a social media customer service representative. They didn't exist. So we've had to learn the type of person that thrives in that role, define the job description, work to figure out who is successful, and develop custom training programs and to be able to have success. And the third area really is about sharing feedback and acting on feedback. So if you come to American Airlines now and you, I don't know, pass comment on a great gate agent, or you've got some feedback on our mobile app, we share that directly with the group that's involved to action. You know, that's respecting the customer feedback, but it's also for the organization and the business unit. It's providing huge value for the social media function because we're able to aggregate those feedback and those insights and provide real-time, timely, you know, relevant comments on whatever the product or service announcement is. So I'm just going to look at each of those three reasons in a little bit more depth. So firstly, how did we approach social media from the start? Well, really, it was a collaborative model, as I've said. You know, we partnered with marketing and within corporate communications. But very quickly, we realized that the customer service functions of reservations and customer relations was where we had to prioritize that resource. And we did that by really sitting down with them and helping them understand that this is just a new channel for the delivery of that same function. And it was about identifying influencers. It was about identifying leaders who could help us start from literally a zero-based headcount and to start getting some temporary resource. And that's how we started. We started off by getting a temporary assignment for 6 months from our reservations group, and that person is still with us today, sort of 3.5 years later. Fast forward to now, and you know, the team at American Airlines is connected with multiple different parts around the business. And this is a key part of our strategy in that no matter what you contact us for, we have a relationship behind the scenes to be able to get that sort of specialist support and advice. And you know, the premise that we started off with was that the social media team should be able to handle about 80%, 80 to 90% of all customer feedback and questions that come through the channel. You know, what we don't want to be doing is passing customers on from pillar to post within the organization, because that just replicates the issue. So we wanted to be able to fix things at the point of contact, and then where we need some specialist advice, we'll call on the groups around the business. So we have contacts with flight service, with every single hub airport around the world that we serve, with our leadership team and executive team, with our One World Alliance partner airlines, within marketing, within procurement, and so on. So if you come to us, we'll try and answer it within sort of 15 minutes, 24/7. That's the goal that we strive to achieve. And you know, the sort of core 6 business units that we support and partner with, you know, they're all critical. And for example, the IT organization, we partner with to develop a custom piece of software that we use to answer all customer service inquiries. We did this because a couple of years ago, we realized that there was just nothing on the market that allowed us to deliver social customer service at scale. So we built something ourselves. And what that now means is it has the ability to be agile and flexible. And if we have to do any security improvements or process improvements, it's all done in a much more manageable way by partnering with our own internal groups. The second kind of key reason behind our sort of success and sort of reinventing social is this group of great people who are hashtagging for you, in case you didn't know what they were doing here. It's not the clearest of pictures, but you know, it's about hiring right. You know, as I said earlier, 3 or 4 years ago, the social customer service representative role did not exist at American Airlines. And so we kind of had to figure out what works. And we did that through sort of trial and error. And you know, the first thing is, you know, we've learned that the social media customer service rep has to be a different sort of breed. I mean, the folks that we're pulling from are typically hired to answer the phone. They're hired for their telephone-based customer service skills, not to be the public point of contact for a major brand in writing. So we've had to sort of hire for that aptitude to write. We've had to media train them. And we've also, you know, had to find people who are flexible, who are very adaptable to change, and sort of who understand this new medium. You know, the second aspect of sort of hiring right is we've really fostered a culture of empowerment. And one of the things that we do is we have every single new hire to the customer service team goes through a 6-week training program, no exceptions. And that training program is designed and facilitated and created by the customer service team themselves. So we don't bring in a consultant to facilitate it. It's done by each other. And every single person that goes through the training then inputs into that training program to improve it for the next new hire that comes through. So that 4 to 6 week training program looks like a week of classroom-based training, a week of sort of media training and technology training, and then a couple of weeks of raised hand assist where they're learning on the ropes. The third, and so also related to that is we're hiring people who enjoy going that one step further and who enjoy kind of that relationship with customers and empowerment. And here's a great example. This is Katie on the right, who is within the social team. On the left is sort of Cameron, who's one of our frequent flyers. Cameron tweeted us saying, you know, he loves the mugs that we used to use in first class. We're starting to discontinue these along with the new brand, but he really wanted these as a keepsake. So Katie followed up behind the scenes, sourced some from the caterers, and the next time he was flying through DFW, which is where we're based, she went to the airport and met him and presented him with these kind of old mugs. He was just, loved it, tweeted about it. And so we just try and encourage that behavior that you need to get out there and actually see the customers that you're tweeting with. So the third sort of reason behind our success and how we're reinventing customer service is about sharing feedback. We're very conscious that if you take the time as a customer to contact us as the brand, then we need to follow up with you, and we need to follow up to answer that question. And it kind of comes back to the sort of network that I shared a little bit earlier on. But also, it's also about providing the business units that we support with timely and relevant feedback. So, for example, early last year when American Airlines conducted a major brand relaunch, within sort of an hour or two, we were sharing with leadership what customers felt about the new logo, the new livery, and the kind of the amount of discussion around it. And that's obviously very important and great information for those decision makers in that group. You don't have to wait a month, 2 months for a focus group to tell you that. And so we realized that social media is in a very powerful position because of that, both internally and also for the customer. And we recognize that that's our role to continue sharing feedback. This is just a picture of our mini command center at our headquarters. And the single role about the purpose for this is to take data and show it to anybody who may be walking past. And, it's a great way of sort of winning hearts and minds. So where are we going in the next sort of year or so and in the future? The first point is, is navigating the American Airlines US Airways integration. There's going to be a lot of major customer impact, like with frequent flyer integration and PSS integration. And our role as the social media team is to represent the customer internally, but also to be able to help the customer proactively with communication updates and navigating the integrated operation. The second area really for customer service, I think, on social media is what I'm just calling join the dots. Social media has grown up very separate and distinct to our legacy systems. And we have to start finding ways of integrating those two. So you have single view of the customer. If you're a flight attendant on board an aircraft, you need to know if you're delivering service. If that customer that you're serving is very influential, perhaps on social media, how does that change your service delivery? How does it change the sort of decisions that we're making? But also from a social media perspective, we have to be, making sure that we understand that at, username, their travel experience, their travel profile, and their travel behavior. And so we've got to start integrating those systems. And I think that CRM is really going to be a focus for customer service. Finally, it's living and breathing social. And the challenge that we had a couple of years ago when we're starting to help educate everybody internally about what is this thing called social media and how does it impact you, still is relevant today. But today everybody understands the strategic imperative about why so we need to have a presence in social media. But the focus now is really about taking that deeper into the organization and instilling it into the sort of frontline operation about how they can impact it and how they can impact the positive brand mentions of American Airlines and a just service delivery. So that's our role. Our role as sort of marketers, communicators, customer service people is to continue that education process and helping everybody figure out how to navigate this new world. that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Have we got time?
I have a question, actually. We don't have time, but I have a question.
Okay.
None of the U.S. airline CEOs are anywhere in social media. How do you explain that? Or internally, your company CEO, the only big company CEO, airline worldwide that I know, Branson, because this is what he does for a living.
Yeah.
And AirAsia CEO.
Our CEO does have a Twitter profile, but he chooses at the moment not to be the voice of the brand.
What do you think as a person who lives and breathes this?
Well, I'm confident that he knows about social media. You know, it's also my job to make sure he's informed and educated. He has a Twitter profile. He listens. He follows what our competitors are doing. He follows what we're doing. He follows what media and influencers are doing. He understands the space. But right now, you know, he chooses not to have that sort of public face. And, you know, I have to respect that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Logo.